The observation deck of the Zenith Claw hummed with the low thrum of antimatter engines as Commander Vexthar watched the human female through reinforced crystalline barriers. Emma Chen sat cross-legged on the sterile floor of the containment zone, her small frame dwarfed by the 3 Krath cubs circling her with predatory curiosity. "This is madness," Vexthar growled, his throat sacs inflating with agitation. "Those cubs are 8 weeks old. Their bite force can shear through duralloy plating." Beside him, the human male, Harry Okonkwo, stood with infuriating calmness, arms crossed over his chest. "Emma knows what she's doing. She raised wolf dogs back on Earth. Wolf dogs are not Krath." Vexthar's claws scraped against the observation panel. The Krath were apex predators from Kresh 7, a death world where the gravity alone would crush most species. Adults stood 3 meters at the shoulder, possessed reflexes faster than neural synapses, and ranked among the most feared hunters in known space. Even their young were lethal. The smallest cub, barely the size of a terrestrial lion, approached Emma with movements that spoke of coiled violence. Its 6 eyes, arranged in a hunting pattern that provided near 360-degree vision, fixed on her exposed hand. Rows of crystalline teeth, already sharp enough to pierce combat armor, glinted under the stark lighting. Emma didn't flinch. She extended her hand slowly, palm up, fingers relaxed. "She's insane," Vexthar hissed. "Order her to withdraw immediately." "No." Harry's voice carried absolute certainty. The cub sniffed Emma's hand, its nasal slits flaring. Then, to Vexithar's horror, it opened its massive jaws and gently took her entire hand into its mouth. "By the ancestors." Vexithar lunged for the emergency extraction control. Harry's hand shot out, gripping the commander's wrist with surprising strength. "Watch." Emma remained motionless, her hand disappearing between fangs that could amputate limbs. The cub's jaw muscles rippled beneath obsidian scales. One twitch, one moment of play aggression, and the human would lose her hand. Perhaps her arm. But Emma smiled. She whispered something too soft for the external microphones to catch. The cub's ear fans swiveled forward, the Krath equivalent of rapt attention. Slowly, carefully, it released her hand and pressed its massive head against her chest, a rumbling purr resonating through the containment zone. The other 2 cubs, emboldened, rushed forward. Within seconds, Emma was buried beneath 300 kilograms of apex predator infant, all of them competing for her touch. "Impossible," Vexthar breathed, his throat sacs deflated. "In 40 cycles of commanding this vessel, You've never trusted them," Harry said quietly. "That's the difference." 2 hours later, Vexthar stood in the Zenith Claw's diplomatic chamber facing the Cubs' alpha, matriarch Shenkara. The Krath leader towered over him, her scarred hide testament to a century of survival on Kresh 7. Her presence radiated barely, contained violence. "You permitted a prey species to touch my offspring." Each word from Shen. Kara's translator carried tones of challenge. "Explain why I shouldn't consider this an act of war." Vexthar's own combat record was impressive. Decorated veteran of 3 campaigns, respected throughout the fleet. But facing Shenkara, he felt like a hatchling. "Matriarch, I assure you, the human female meant no..." "Show me." The holographic recording materialized between them. Emma sitting peacefully as the cubs played around her. The smallest one chewing gently on her hand, her fingers emerging unscathed. Emma laughing as they knocked her over, their massive paws carefully placed to avoid crushing her. Shenkara watched in silence. When the recording ended, her throat sacs collapsed completely, a sign of profound shock among Krath. "This is not possible," she said. "My cubs are trained to recognize threats from birth. Any being that shows fear triggers their hunting reflex. Any being that shows aggression triggers their combat response. Yet this human..." She gestured at the frozen image of Emma, buried under affectionate predators. "She shows neither fear nor dominance." "What is this?" "Trust," Harry said, stepping forward uninvited. Vexthar tensed, but the human continued. "On Earth we have a saying. To befriend a wolf, you must think like a wolf. Emma doesn't see your cubs as weapons or monsters. She sees them as children." "Children," Shenkara repeated, testing the word. "That is the human term for offspring?" "Yes, and we protect our children. All children." Harry pulled up another hollow image, this one showing Emma on Earth surrounded by rescue animals. Predators and prey species together, all calm in her presence. This is what humans do. We look at something dangerous and ask, "Can I pet it?" Vexthar's translator struggled with the idiom. Shenkara moved closer to Harry, her breath hot enough to scorch. "Your species are prey. Small, weak. You have no natural weapons, no protective carapace. You come from a garden world with pathetic gravity. Yet you treat the galaxy's apex predators like—" She struggled for words. "Like packmates?" "Yes," Harry said simply. The matriarch was silent for a long moment. Then she did something Vexthar had never witnessed. Shenkara lowered her head, bringing her eye level with Harry's, a gesture of equality among Krath. "I need to meet this Emma," she said. The containment zone had been reconfigured. No barriers now. Emma sat in the center as before, the cubs sleeping around her in a pile of scales and contented purrs. She was reading to them from a data pad, some human story about a mouse and a lion. Shenkara entered slowly, her massive form seeming to fill the entire space. The cubs immediately woke, rushing to their mother with excited chirps. Emma stood, brushing cub saliva from her uniform. "Matriarch Shenkara," she said, bowing slightly. "Your children are beautiful." Shenkara approached until she loomed directly over Emma. The human didn't retreat, didn't show fear. She simply looked up and smiled. "Put out your hand," Shenkara commanded. Emma did. Shenkara opened her jaws, massive enough to swallow Emma whole. Teeth like swords reflected the overhead lights. Every muscle in Vexthar's body screamed at him to intervene, but Harry's hand on his shoulder kept him still. Gently, with a control that defied biology, Shenkara took Emma's hand in her mouth. Her fangs rested against human skin without breaking it. For 3 heartbeats, the matriarch held her there. Then she released Emma's hand and spoke. "My species has a saying, trust given to a predator is trust earned in blood. You have earned my trust, human Emma. More importantly, you have earned my cub's trust, something I believed impossible." Emma grinned. "They're good kids. Just needed someone to show them they're loved." Shenkara's throat sacs inflated, the Krath expression of joy. "The Galactic Council says humans are weak because you have no claws, no fangs, no armor. They are wrong. Your strength is that you see potential allies where others see only threats. That level of trust—" She looked at her cubs, now climbing over Emma again. "That level of trust is the most dangerous weapon in the universe." Later, as the Zenith Claw prepared to jump to hyperspace, Vexthar found Harry on the observation deck. "Your species terrifies me," the commander admitted. Harry smiled. "Good, but just so you know, Emma's already talking about getting Shenkara to bring the cubs to Earth. Something about puppy socialization classes." Vexthar's throat sacs collapsed in horror. "The galaxy isn't ready for domesticated Krath." "Probably not," Harry agreed. "But that's never stopped humans before."